Okay, so let me just close out this issue of optimum use of scarce resource. First of all, I would like you to make sure you turn over to page 402 of your textbook and sort of see the final workings of how they've done this. And you can see they arrive at the same 1,400 that I arrive at. And just read through that working, that example again. And then it sort of gives you a summary again of the use of scarce resource at the bottom. Right. Now, I just want to sort of prove to you and just to ask you what you think. It's a very short video, this one, but just to clear things up, make it very clear. Imagine you have a taxi driver, and I think a taxi driver is always a very good example for many reasons when it comes to marginal costing. Now, a taxi driver, most taxi drivers will pay a kind of lease cost, if you like, or rent a taxi for the week, right? And in their minds, they need to, they take the taxi and they pay for a license. And so imagine the lease cost for the week was £1,000, and they also had to pay a license to the council to ride the taxi everywhere. 500. Let's just call it. I don't know. It's any nice number. Say let me just be absurd and call it £500 a week. So therefore, the total fixed cost, if you like, to a taxi driver is 1,500. Now, a couple of things. That taxi driver is thinking a couple of things. He now has his main, if you like, let's just argue, it's not his taxi, he rents it. So if you like, his only variable cost must be petrol, right? Because the more rides he does, the more petrol he pays. Pretty straightforward. Must be petrol. So it's per ride. So let's just say he does a lot of £10 rides. So he does a lot of £10 rides where he will receive £10 for every ride, and we all somehow know that the petrol cost for a £10 ride, let's just argue, is a £5. Let's just argue. So that means that his contribution is £5. So in his mind, he's going to have make a certain number of rides to make sure he covers his fixed costs first, if you like, to break even. And what is that? 1,500 over 5. So he has to do 300 rides, actually. That's a lot of rides. Let's just say this is for the week. Yeah, this is for the whole week. He has to make 300 rides to do this. The truth is, once he's made 300 rides, and he's making another ride, like I said again, just this idea of variable cost, I'm no longer interested in this. If he does this by Monday, Tuesday, all he has to think about is the cost of his petrol, and then he can choose to lower the price, but he's never going to go below 5, because he must cover the cost of his petrol. He's happy to take 6. Right? He's happy to take 8. He's happy to take whatever. He's happy to take 12. Of course he is, but he's trying to still make money and keep running. Taking 6 is better than having nothing, if you like, than sitting than having a standstill, if the variable cost is 5. Right, so that's the first thing I wanted to talk about or highlight about the taxi driver. The other thing I wanted to talk about with the taxi driver is, let me just see if I can get a clear page. I'm just going to use this page. Right, is this. Say, for example, a taxi driver had a shift from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and he always finishes at 5 p.m. And at 4 p.m. he's only got 1 hour left. This time is a scarce resource for a taxi driver. He can't go past 5. He's got 1 hour left. And at the same time, what I'll do is I'll correlate. You're in an exam, and the exam is, I don't know, whatever, 3 hours, and you have 15 minutes left to the end of the exam. Both of them at the same time. So this has become a scarce resource. You have 15 minutes left. This driver has 1 hour left. Someone says to him, "Oh, please, would you mind? I would like you to come to the airport and pick me up. It'll cost you, if you have £100 of petrol, I will pay you £200, so your contribution would be £100. So he's thinking, wow, big number. I'm going to be there for an hour. But then someone says to him, "Oh, hey, I've got a little job for you, and that little job is within the city, and it'll cost you £10 to do this job, but and it'll only take you 10 minutes, right? And you will get £60 for the job." Now he's only got 1 hour left, and he's got a series of these little jobs. Now if you think about it, On the one hand, when you look at this, you might think, Loyan, this is, the key point here is that this 50, if you like, doesn't compare to this 100. This is a much smaller figure, 50, first of all. But if you think about it, you're getting this 50 over 10 minutes. So, because you only have 1 hour left, you want to get in as much money as you can in that hour. If you had all the time in the world, you might go and get 200, no problem. If you're going to spend 1 hour getting £200, when you can spend 10 minutes getting £50, £50 contribution, right? And 10 minutes is 1/6 of an hour. So without even having, like saying 50 over 0.166, it's much more than, if you like, getting 100. This is a lot. I don't even have my calculator here. But the key point here is this. Same with you in an exam. In an exam, if you have 15 minutes left, what you don't start to try doing is to do a very long question. You look for, where am I going to get the most marks in this 15 minutes? I only have 15 minutes left. And so that's exactly the thinking here, or the argument about a scarce resource. You're simply looking, who will give me the greatest contribution per minute, if you like, or per scarce resource, just in this time. If I had all the time in the world, I would do all the different questions. But now you become strategic, and you start focusing on the product that gives you the highest contribution per scarce resource. So, moral of the story, when you have a scarce resource, calculate the contribution for your items, calculate the contribution per scarce resource, rank them, and make the one that gives you, or attempt the question that gives you the highest marks per minute. Take the project, if you like, that gives you the highest contribution per minute, and then just carry on that way. Of course, there's shortcomings. The problem is that you lose, if this was a regular customer, well, you've lost him. To be fair, you might actually be in contract. You might have to go and pick him up. You might not be able to make those type of decisions. You might be forced to. So you might go to another supplier, if you like. So it's unfortunate. But remember, again, this is only in the short term. In the morning, then you can go along and start doing all these other jobs, if you like, that give you very good contribution to sales ratios. Okay, great stuff. So that ends our discussion on the optimal use of scarce resources. And then we'll carry on with the other topics in the next, other applications of marginal costing in the next video. Thank you.